Spark appraisal information, the everything video part 6, picking up at around 52 minutes.
Areas south of the highway, and I could export those and I could load those into Spark as my alternative properties. And then I can see at a quick glance, Spark will show me the average price difference or median price difference or price per square foot difference, whatever it is, between those two sets of data. So then to kind of help you possibly with the location adjustment. I'm not saying whatever that difference is what you should use as your location adjustment, but it could help point you in a direction or guide you to what the location adjustment should be. So that's that. All right, so now let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to load those files in. Now, two things. If you're using Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer, you just click this button where it has the plus sign, and then Spark will pop up in a window, and you tell it where the file is. Most of you are going to keep those in your downloads folder, so over here on the left, you just click downloads, and you find it. But another way to do it is if you're using Firefox or Chrome, you just drag the file in because it's already going to be on your screen, hopefully. Assuming you use your MLS and Spark websites in the same browser, then this will work. So, for example, if you use Firefox, up here in the top right, there's going to be a blue arrow. You just click it, the file will appear, and you just drag it down right on top of that plus sign. If you're using Chrome, which is what I'm using right here, then you just take that file and you click it, hold your mouse down, and drag it up to the plus sign. You can see it changes color slightly when I'm over the right spot. It gets like a dark blue square around it, and it turns a lighter shade. Then you just drop it on by letting go of the mouse button. And so now Spark is translating those 316 properties. And then you do the same thing with your neighborhood file. And by the way, the neighborhood is also optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to do that. A lot of you are used to, let me cancel that for a second. A lot of you are used to a product similar, a competing product to ours, and you might only be used to loading in the grid and the competing properties for the MC. And you don't necessarily, maybe you don't want to use the neighborhood properties. You don't want Spark to automatically calculate the low, high, and predominant. Then you don't have to do it. It's all optional. Like I said, everything is kind of like a la carte, so you can just use it how you want to. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drop that neighborhood file on, and that again is what Spark is going to use to calculate the low, high, and predominant price and age. And of course, as I also said, you can analyze that data in any way you want to and compare it with competing properties. All right, so I've loaded that in, and I just click next. Okay, so pretty straightforward. I've got my page 1 information here, the 1-unit housing, low, high, predominant. I've got the check boxes here for the 1-unit housing trends, top of page 2 numbers. If this was a condo, it'd be the top of page 3. And then I've got the 1004MC and a bunch of comments down there as well. Now, a couple things. One, if you're happy with that, you can just hit export and you could load everything over into your report. The way we design this, though, is for you to be able to go in and really analyze your market the way you want to. But a lot of times when I'm doing these videos, it looks like there's a lot of work and a lot of time involved. But basically, you go in and you set up Spark to analyze your market the way you want to, and then all you do is as you go through and you're deciding what the market's doing, you can see when I hover my mouse over these checkboxes, Spark pops up with this trend preview, and that's showing me what the market's doing based on how I want to analyze it. Now, yours will look different. You might not have the same analysis up here. In fact, you probably won't. So you set this up so Spark will analyze the market the way you want to. That way, you can quickly but super accurately mark whether it's going up, down, or stable. And all that data is also going to go into your work file. So you have a really thorough market analysis. You don't have to just rely on these 3 numbers in the 1004MC, which we all know don't really do a good job of painting the picture of what your market's doing. So you analyze the market the way you want to, whether it's over 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 10 years, whatever. And then you check the box and you can go down and do the same thing on every single row of the 1004MC. And we also have, oh, and by the way, it also works for the seller concessions, whether they're prevalent or not. You just hover over yes or no. It tells you the percentage that are prevalent. And then REOs as well. Looks like I have 0% REOs, and I do have, you can see that there's that 0.8%. That means there was a 0.8% of sales over the past 2 years, which you see it says 24 months above that 0.8, were distressed, but 0 were REO. So that means those were short sales, basically. So anyways, it shows you that. And then the same thing here when you hover over these checkboxes for page 1, the property values, supply, and marketing times. Spark will show you the data that's relevant. So it shows me my actual marketing times for my properties, whether it's competing or neighborhood, you decide how you want it to work. And then you check the box. Obviously, that's under 3 months, so I'll check that box. And then here, shortage, imbalance, or oversupply, I'll call that shortage. And then here, you decide whether you want to call that increasing or stable. That's kind of a borderline one in my opinion. But anyways, you check it how you want to, and let's just check that, and you go through and do the same thing on all of these boxes. So that's kind of the overview of how it works. Now there's a lot I'm going to get into, but the first thing I want to talk about is, or I should say are, the check boxes. So we do have appraisers that call occasionally and say, how come you guys aren't checking the boxes? It's obviously increasing, but you didn't check the increasing box. Spark, well, I should say, we don't believe that's the job of software. We think that's something we need to rely on the expert in the area, which is you, to do. So we are more than capable, or Spark is more than capable of very quickly and very accurately telling you the results of an analysis that you want, but you're still the one that has to decide whether the market is going up, down, or stable. And so that's kind of our philosophy behind it's a brief little rundown of our philosophy behind why we don't check the boxes. We believe we give you the data and you are the expert, so you still got to go in and make the decision and draw the conclusion about what the market's actually doing. So that's that. The other thing I want to touch on here before we really get into the analysis is you can click on anything that's blue on this screen as far as the numbers go to either dive in and look deeper at it or to customize it. So let me show you an example of what I mean. So if you think, you know what, this 1.169 million, I don't think this neighborhood actually has homes in the $1 million. So I don't think that's true. So all you do is you click it and Spark will show you the actual data, all of the data. So you can go in and see for yourself. Now, here I have sold price, and all you do is you click sold price and it will sort it low to high. Click it again, sorts it high to low. And I can see that and I can decide whether or not, yeah, I meant to include that, that's the right property, or did an agent make a mistake and that really shouldn't be there like that. And you can also go in and let's just say that you realize that this property didn't actually sell for 1.169 million. It sold for let's just say 169,000. Then all you do is you type it in and you hit go back, and Spark will update that property everywhere throughout Spark. So all the tables, all the charts, all the MC data, all of the one unit housing data, that's all updated on the fly. And you can see the high is no longer 1.169 million, it's 599. Now, let me go back and show you a couple other things. So I'm going to get that property back, and I'm going to fix it because it really is, whoops, 1.169 million. But the other thing you can do is you can say, you know what, this property is actually an outlier, and I don't want to include it for whatever reason. All you do is you right-click and choose remove. And now that property, just like before, is gone from everywhere within Spark. So we still keep it, and we're going to load into your work file the fact that you chose that it was to remove it. So it will be in your digital work file. We have a separate document we put in there, or actually it goes at the end of your market analysis document, which I'll show you at the end of this video. There's going to be a final page that shows all the properties that you went in and specifically removed. That way, if anyone ever questions you later, like, hey, why didn't you consider this property? You can go back and see, oh, it was there, it was in my competing properties, but I chose to remove it for whatever reason. So that will stay in your work file, and that's how you can remove a property you don't want to keep in there. And that applies to anywhere and any number in here. So if you're like, you know what, were there really 4 active listings? I think there was only 2. You can just click that 4, and Spark shows you the 4. You can go and look at their list date, look at their pending date, make sure were they really active on March 1st. And yeah, that's kind of how this works. And you can update anything here. Again, you can remove anything if you want to remove it. That's all, you kind of control the data. So be careful, don't remove things that you shouldn't remove, but obviously if something really doesn't belong there, get rid of it. You don't want to include it in your analysis. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to some other things. Now let's get into really the analysis and how you can customize this. So basically, any row here of the MC you can click on to customize the data, or customize the charts, customize the comments. You customize the way these trend preview boxes pop up when you hover over the checkbox associated with median comparable sale price or housing supply or whatever it is. And so I'm going to show you how you can go in there and kind of make this your own. So let's go ahead and click on median comparable sale price. And now I have this screen here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There we go. So you can see everything. Now the text is going to look really small up here because I zoomed out, but that's okay for now. I mostly want to focus on the charts. So basically, if you remember when I was back on the 1004MC, which let me go back to that and just show you. When I was back on the 1004MC, when I hover over this row, these 4 cards pop up: 0.5, 0.3, 0.5, 0.6. Now I can click, when I click on median comparable sale price, you can see these are those same numbers and these are those same cards. So basically, the analyses that are on this screen are what govern what goes on the MC when you're, or what pops up when you're going to make your decision about whether things are going up, down, or stable. So I can come in here and customize this however I want to. Let's just say, you know what, I'm happy with this, but I really prefer not to analyze over 24 months, but I want to go and do 4 years. You just change that to 48 months, and now you have a 48-month analysis by quarter. And you can change by quarter as well. And you can see these numbers updated because how much things are going up or down, that now changed because we have way more data that we're working with, 48 months worth instead of 24 months worth. And then the same thing when I can choose to analyze this in a scatter plot, and that changes things. So now I have every single sale as a dot here over the past 48 months. Or I can choose monthly, and I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here. Hopefully you guys get the idea. And then yearly and half yearly. So here's just year over year over year over year. And so basically the point is you come in here and you set this up so it's analyzing data the way you prefer to analyze it. And then once you have it all set up how you want, and we'll get into more of how you tweak it and customize it, you just hit save layout. Spark will remember that for all future reports until you go in and change it again. And then that means that every time you go into Spark, it's set up already the way you want. So you don't have to come to this screen and tweak with anything. You can just go right through the 1004MC and just decide what boxes you're going to check based on how you like to analyze the data. Let's go back into that sale price screen now. So I'm going to click sale price. And now I was going to show you something else here. Let's go back. I'm going to change that back to quarterly. Go back to 24 months. Oh yeah. So the card, like I said, if it's blue, you can click on it. So I could click this title, and you can change the title to whatever you want to name this title here, the title of your chart. And then you can see when I'm hovered over this area, I get these check boxes here, and it says, do you want to include the chart in the report? And so if you don't want this chart in your report, you just uncheck it. And if you do, you check it. And if it's unchecked, this analysis, this table of data, which I'll show you in a minute, the analysis here, the 0.5 and the 0.6, all the chart and everything, that is all going to go into your digital work file. But since I unchecked it right here, that means it is not going to go into my report. So every single analysis and piece of data goes into your digital work file, but only the charts that you want will go into your report. So I'm going to turn that back on. And the other thing I can do is display regression results in the chart legend. So that means, all that means is when this image goes into your report, do you want it to show the regression result in the actual image? And the regression result is are the numbers here, this 0.5% and this 0.6%. It will also show in that area of the chart the actual regression equation, like the y equals mx plus b type formula, which I'll show you here in a second. So actually, let's just show you now. So at any point, you can click show data. And when you do that, you get the chart here, but you also get a table of all the data. You get the equations of the slope of the line that we get from using simple regression on the data, and how much things went up overall over the entire course of this chart, which in this case, it's a 24 months. So it went up basically 13% over the course of 2 years, is what that's telling us. And it went up 0.5% per month. Okay. And then we have the total. So what the total is whatever you're analyzing. So in this case, we're analyzing competing data, median price per square foot. So the median price per square foot across this entire 24 years was $162. Now, this is the exact same information in red over here in this column, except instead of being my competing data, it's the entire neighborhood. So in this case, it's all single-family homes in that defined neighborhood boundaries, and that in this case was $152 a square foot. And you can see there were 419 in this case and 118 over this 2-year period when it comes to my competing properties. Okay, and then down here, if we scroll down a little bit, you get the actual data for every bar. So this $166.99, there were 8 sales. If I hover over this, you can see the exact same numbers pop up. $166.99, 8 properties. That's this bar in the chart. And so this table of data is going to go into your work file as well in case you need it. And just like I showed you earlier, when you click on the data you're interested in, Spark shows you all of the data that helped it get there. So if you're looking at a chart and you think, you know what, this bar looks unusually low, I was expecting it to be higher, or vice versa, you just click it and Spark will show you all the data that comprises that particular bar of that chart, and you can go in and look at it. I'm going to sort this by price per square foot, high to low, okay, what about sold price? And you can just go in and see what's going on. Was there something weird? And then if there was, you can remove it, or you can change, if the agent had a typo in their listing, you can tweak it right here, and that just kind of updates everything everywhere throughout Spark. Then you just hit go back when you're done, and you're back to that screen. Okay, so I'm going to hit go back. All right, so now I'm going to get into actually customizing more in more detail the charts and analyses. And by the way, I just showed you how you customize the charts by changing this from 24 to 48 or whatever you want in this little bar right here, and also how to change it to a scatter plot or a quarterly bar chart or a yearly or monthly or whatever. But that also basically applies to all of the analyses. So every analysis you build also builds a chart. And then you can also have Spark build comments based on that analysis. So analysis, chart, and comment, those are all kind of tied together in Spark. So whatever you build in Spark as far as an analysis, that's also going to build a chart. And then you can also choose to build comments based on that. So let me just show you an example here. So each of these 4 cards is an analysis, and they're building this chart. So I'm going to click on this where it says, you know what, actually I just had a thought. I'm just going to remove this entire widget, which is this chart and these 2 analyses. I'm going to remove it. It says, are you sure? Yes. All right. So now I am going to, and by the way, I just removed it by clicking, there was a red X at the top right. This one doesn't have that because it's the last one available, and you have to have at least one analysis in here. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to change everything to analyze median price instead of price per square foot. So all you do to further get into the details of the analysis is you just click the card you want to customize. So I'm going to click this blue one right here. It flips it over, and then these are the things you can customize about it. What data set you want to use, the competing, the neighborhood, or the alternative. Now, I didn't upload an alternative file, so it's not showing up here, but this is where I could go in and turn on that alternative analysis if I wanted to. So, yep, I'm happy that it's competing properties. What do you want to analyze? I want to analyze price per square foot. Well, I want to change that, so let's click that, and let's just change it to median price. All right, so we did that. And now, is it a scatter plot? You just choose that if you want it to be a bar chart or a line chart or whatever. And then trend line. Right now it's using the best fit, which is a logarithmic trend line. Now, I don't really like that one for these scatter plots, so I'm just going to go in here and I can change it to whatever I want. If I don't like best fit, where best fit basically means Spark looks at all of these 5 different, well, it's currently 5 different trend lines, and it finds out which one best fits the actual points of data from your data set, those competing properties. In this case, it happened to be logarithmic, but I'm just going to go ahead and choose linear. So in that case, you see the linear trend line there. Now I could also choose it to be like a polynomial 3, and it does that. So anyways, you kind of, the point is you set it up how you want to, and that's how Spark will do things. Now, down here, oh, I'm sorry, there's one other thing, exclude. So you can also choose to exclude distressed sales. So what that means is I can click here and I can choose to exclude REOs, I can choose to exclude short sales, or I can choose to exclude both. Now I'm going to leave that alone for now and show you something else in a minute here that has to do with that. And then last, you can also choose what comments are built based upon this analysis. So this analysis on competing properties over median sale price, do you want to have comments go into your 1004MC or your market analysis about that? If so, turn it on. If not, turn it off. So if I turn it off, you can see this orange sentence or group of sentences up here. These are the ones that are being built based on this analysis. So if I turn it off,
Okay, ending this at 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 4 seconds.